We are back at it with more Grom content. I just did an oil change on this thing. It was a whopping $9. Wow. To do an oil change took all of 5 minutes. Super easy. The longest thing was just letting the oil actually drain out. I've been loving how simple and easy to do just about anything on this thing has been. I also just added some reflective rim stripes on it. I took off the factory reflectors because they're bulky and super ugly, but I did want to still have that level of safety or visibility. So those are cheap. I like the way they look. Nice little accent color to it. And next up, we're going to be doing an exhaust on this thing. So this is the factory Honda Grom exhaust in all of its bulky, heavy, and very quiet existence. I will turn this thing on for you right quick. Very quiet. While riding, I hear the intake more than anything because this does have a Chimera intake on it. Not very loud at all. And yeah, I'm not very confident that people know that I'm there because it's a tiny bike and people here don't pay a whole lot of attention. So for awareness more than anything, I wanted to do an exhaust on this thing. So I picked up just a cheapy faux carbon Amazon eBay special. I found one for about 80 bucks. It's going to be here in a couple of minutes. So let's get the stock one off the bike and then put the new one on. So I have never done more than just a simple slip-on on a motorcycle before, but from my understanding, this will be super simple. All it's going to take is going to be the bolt right here on the rear set. There's another one kind of hiding underneath above this center section, and then the two bolts holding it onto the cylinder head. So yeah, I'm gonna grab some tools. We're gonna pop this thing out, and hopefully by then the new package shows up and it's actually the right thing. Didn't even get 2 minutes into trying to take off the stock exhaust, and the new one just showed up, packaged straight from China. So I'm gonna pop that open in a second and show you what's inside. But just if you're trying to follow along at home, this is a 12 mil. There is a nut on the back side. There's one right underneath here that you probably won't be able to see, but it's right in there. You need an extension for it. That one does not have a nut on the back side. And then there's the two at the head on either side, also a 12 mil. They're all the same size, couldn't be any easier. So this is the way that everything gets packed in here. We've got the muffler, which is in a padded envelope, so that seems to be well protected. We've got the pipe, which just has like a little plastic bag, so that could potentially get dinged up in shipping. We've got a bracket. This is the one that holds up the muffler, and then it looks like we got some sort of other hardware, maybe the silencer in here. So I'm gonna get all this opened up and show you what it actually looks like. There it is in all its glory. This is the most important here. Everybody wants to see. It's lighter than I thought, and the baffle does come pre-installed, so do make sure that this is properly tightened. I've heard stories about these falling off. If you are going to run it, just make sure that you give it a nice check over. The fake carbon print actually looks pretty nice. I thought it was going to be gaudy and awful, but it's not too bad. The welds on the pipe are pretty decent, I think. Nothing to write home about, but they're also not horrendous. And the finish on the pipe looks pretty okay. It did come with a spring tool, which is nice. For something this cheap, they definitely didn't have to include that, but it's very nice that they did. Then we've got some springs and bracketry and hardware, and another bracket here. So yeah, let's finish getting the stock one off that and get this on. There we've got the stock exhaust off the bike. And I'm very tempted to start it the way it is, but I'm not going to be an idiot and do that because I don't want to hurt anything, especially since it's not tuned. This did have another bolt, little guy, also still a 12 mil head on the other side. So there's one on the other side. This one sits like right behind the kickstand. This one's a little bit more difficult as it's inboard and you need an extension for. Then the one with the nut on the back side, and then the two nuts that go on the studs on the cylinder head. So yeah. Let's pop the new one on. We've got the exhaust just loosely installed, and you can see it's still moving around all over the place. I did use the OEM hardware instead of what came with it, just because I trust that a little bit more. I did have to put the rubber on this bracket. It didn't come already installed. I tried to make sure it was even on both sides, and then that the bottom actually sat, because when you try to rotate it, it bunches it up. This bracket's kind of really far back. I thought it was going to sit further forward. I guess it doesn't. And then now I'm going to put the springs on and then start tightening things just to make sure everything is where it needs to sit. And then we will start it up. I think I'm going to let it idle for like 10 minutes or so just to kind of try to break it in a little bit. You're supposed to do that with like the nicer exhaust. I don't know that it really matters on this or how much packing is or isn't in this thing, but I figured I would do that. See how it sounds with the baffle, ride around a little bit, and then if I still see that it's not loud enough, then we'll take the baffle out and see how that sounds. Alright, exhaust is on for good. Nice and sturdy on there. The springs were a little bit of a pain to get on. Again, it does come with a tool, which makes it easier. What I found was worked pretty well was either using my knee to activate the rear brake to do the top, or what I ended up doing for the bottom, because it was a little bit more difficult, is using a bungee here. You can see it holds the front brake on, and that way I could lay down and get that bottom spring on. That was pretty difficult to get on, but I did get it on. Torqued everything. The factory torque spec is 20 Newton meters, which is about 15 foot-pounds of torque. Now I'm going to wipe everything just so that my greasy fingerprints don't end up all over the pipe. I'm going to use some brake cleaner. Probably not the best thing to use. Probably better off with like a nice degreaser or like Windex or something like that, but this is what I've got, so I'm going to go ahead and clean it out, and then we'll get it started. Got it all cleaned up. I also checked to make sure that the bolt back here is tight. I did get a little bit more on it just to make sure it's a little tighter. There's also a little beauty plug there that I have a feeling is going to fall off after a couple of miles. It's got a lip on it, but who knows. So without further ado, if I can get my key to turn, there we go. Ooh, much better. Here. Not feeling any leaks there. Not feeling any leaks there. Wow, actually with the baffle, it's louder than I thought it was going to be. Got a package to drop off at the post office, so after this breaks in for a couple of minutes at idle, we're going to take it for a spin. Alright, so far it's pretty quiet. I definitely think I'm going to take the baffle out. I'm going to go through the first at least 3 gears when we get off the light and show you how it sounds. just got back from my little test ride. I think the exhaust sounds good, but I think I want it a little louder, so I think I'm going to take off the baffle and see how it sounds. I was also trying out this new to me LS2 Riva jacket. Really surprised by how much air it flows. It's actually very comfortable. And the protection is not super stiff like some other cheap jackets that I've had in the past. Even though this is not a super fancy and cheaper jacket, it's actually pretty comfortable. So we'll see how it holds up long term. But let's go take that baffle out and do a little sound comparison. Alright, so this is it idling with the baffle. Do a couple little free revs. Not all that loud. Let's take that baffle out, see how it goes. Alright, so that's the baffle out. It's still really hot, so I'm going to let it chill right there. This was a little bolt that was holding it in place, and it was a 3mm Allen. Right? That's a 3? Yeah? No, it's a 4. Because that's a 5. Yeah, so it's a 4mm Allen. So, let's start it up. See how it sounds. Much deeper in person. I don't know if the camera will pick that up. Not all that much louder. I think it will be under load though. Yep, it will be. So, let's go for another ride and see how it sounds without the baffle. Man, this thing sucks at picking up lighting. Just that little thing right there. Wow, you probably couldn't see me at all. Alright, let's do another ride. Alright, just got back from the ride with no baffle on the bike, and honestly, not as loud as I thought it was going to be. It's totally livable. I'm not wearing earplugs, just a helmet, and it was totally fine. I did notice that in third gear, it was having a little bit of a trouble at the same spot where I did a pull last time, reaching that 60 mark. Like, it wanted to get to the top of third gear, but it wouldn't rev all the way out. And the second I got in fourth, it would just kind of like bog down and actually started seeing the speedo drop. Where with the baffle, surprisingly, it would reach 60 and felt peppier than with the stock exhaust. I think this might be because I have an intake and exhaust and no tune, so it might be running a little lean up top. With the tune, that should fix it, which will be coming pretty soon. I'm trying to see if I can find a cam for this thing and do it all at once, because I'd rather that than spend my money twice. So yeah, pretty happy with the exhaust for the money. Can't beat it. Might end up trying to make this a high mount. They sell a pipe that goes from here up over, you clear a little section of the fender there and mounts it up higher. We'll see. I like this better than I thought it was going to, but I do like the look. I'm cleaning up the streamline and having the pipe up top. So maybe do that in the future if I decide I want to spend the money. But for now, pretty happy with it. And that about does it for this episode on the latest Grom stuff. We do still have a bunch of stuff coming up, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all of that fun stuff if you want to keep up on the latest with what I'm doing with this Grom. I've really been enjoying this jacket. I've definitely been riding with all of the gear. I have definitely taken tumbles in the past and probably will in the future. It's not a matter of if you will, it's when you will. So the new helmet's been great. It's got a little flip down sun visor, which I thought was going to be gimmicky, but I've actually been using a ton. I've got a kind of cheapo pair of gloves with carbon fiber knuckles on them. They're not CE rated, but they'll do for now. I'm wanting to up my gear. I've been looking at some riding shoes. The Alpine Star Sector is kind of what I'm looking at. So if you have any recommendations or have ridden those in the past, do let me know in the comments. And then I did also print a bunch of extra little mirror caps. And all the little 3D printed parts that I've been using on the bike have been holding up great. I'm using a special kind of filament that is meant to be outdoors. And then we've also still got a ton of stuff to do on that thing. I ordered a cam. We've got a tune coming. We've got a Cheeky Seats seat pad for it. I might be doing some body modifications. I kind of really like how Buell motorcycles look. I've always been a fan and want to see if I can make the front end of the bike look a little bit more like that, because the headlight to me is a little too Transformer futuristic looking. Not my cup of tea. We'll see what we can do with that. And yeah, we've just got a bunch of cool little stuff coming up with the bike. Definitely going to be making more videos on it. I know I've been enjoying the crap out of this thing. I've put over 1,000 miles on that thing already, and I find myself grabbing that thing more than my car as long as the weather permits. I don't like really riding in the wet and whatnot. So yeah, that does it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.